The Soviet Union didn't just want to win the space race. They needed to prove their ideology was superior to the West in every way. Unlike NASA, who broadcast their failures live on television, the Kremlin operated in total shadows, erasing mistakes as if they never happened. The official policy was simple. A mission is only announced after the cosmonaut has returned alive. This created a terrifying reality where a launch failure wasn't a tragedy, it was a state secret. If a pilot was lost in space, he didn't just lose his life, he lost his name, his history, and his very existence. Between 1959 and 1961, Western listening posts detected multiple massive rockets leaving Baikonur. These rockets entered orbit, circled the Earth, and transmitted telemetry data, but Moscow remained completely silent. When these capsules failed to return, the signals simply faded into static. They left ghost ships drifting in the void. Intelligence agencies labeled these phantom launches missions that officially never happened. The question haunts historians. Are those capsules still up there? Are they carrying the frozen legacy of the real pioneers? Paranoia ran so deep that Soviet engineers allegedly rigged the Vostok capsules with explosives. The fear wasn't just losing a pilot. It was the capsule landing in American territory. Rumors persist that pilots were given a code to disarm the device only after they were over Soviet soil. If re-entry went wrong and they drifted off course, the craft was designed to destroy the evidence. This turned every mission into a high-stakes gamble where the machine itself was the threat. The Sochi 6 photo is the smoking gun of Soviet deception. Originally, it showed the elite top-tier cosmonauts standing together. Over the years, men like Grigory Nelyubov began to vanish from the photo. They were airbrushed out by state censors after falling from grace. The edits were clumsy, sometimes leaving a ghost hand resting on a shoulder. If the state was willing to erase a living hero because of a minor conflict, imagine what they would do to a fallen one who embarrassed the program. History was not a record of what happened. It was a clay sculpture they reshaped. Valentin Bondarenko was the youngest of the first cosmonaut group. He was a rising star destined for orbit. During a routine isolation test in a pure oxygen chamber, a mistake with an alcohol wipe sparked a fire. The flash fire proved fatal. The Soviets hushed up his tragic end for over 20 years. They even airbrushed him out of group photos. Because the West didn't know about the fire risk of pure oxygen, NASA made the same mistake. His loss proves the Soviets prioritized secrecy over safety. In the hills of Turin, Italy, two amateur radio geniuses built a listening post called Torre Bert. Achille and Giovanni tapped into the specific, secret frequencies used by the Soviet space program. They became the ears of the West. They captured raw, unencrypted data that Moscow thought no one could hear. Their recordings are grainy and haunting, capturing the raw human cost of the space race. To this day, the Russian government claims the brothers were mistaken, but their technical data aligned perfectly with classified launch windows. Months before Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space, the brothers picked up a signal. It wasn't a voice, but the distinct, rhythmic thumping of a failing human heart. The telemetry indicated a craft in orbit, but the vital signs were fading rapidly as the life support systems failed. The signal eventually faded into silence, marking the lonely end of an unknown cosmonaut. This recording suggests Gagarin wasn't the first up. he was just the first to come back. Scanning the skies later, the brothers locked onto a faint Morse code signal repeating SOS. Using Doppler, they calculated the speed and trajectory. The craft wasn't orbiting, it was moving away from Earth. A navigation error had likely fired the thrusters in the wrong direction. The signal grew weaker and weaker over hours until it vanished into the silence. If true, there is a Soviet relic drifting somewhere in the dark between Earth and Mars right now. Then there is the most disturbing audio file in existence. A female voice, terrified, confused, and reporting extreme heat. She cries out in Russian, "Heat, isn't this dangerous? Talk to me, I see a flame." The transmission ends with a chilling cry before cutting to abrupt silence. This occurred 2 full years before Valentina Tereshkova ever left the ground. It implies the Soviets tried to launch a woman early to score a PR victory, but failed. Skeptics attacked the Torre Bert Recordings, claiming the brothers couldn't track spacecraft. However, the brothers correctly predicted the launch times of confirmed missions. The Soviets used voice transmissions on frequencies officially designated for unmanned satellites. Why would an unmanned satellite need a voice channel unless a human was inside? The denial relies on the trust of Soviet records we know were falsified. Vladimir Ilyushin was arguably the USSR's most skilled test pilot. Reports surfaced that he launched days before Gagarin, but crash-landed off target in China. Because he was captured and critically injured, he couldn't be the perfect hero. Gagarin, with his winning smile, was quickly suited up to take the credit. Ilyushin lived a long life, but remained strangely silent about the space program. In late 1957, leaks suggested a manned launch attempt had gone wrong. The name Alexis Ladovsky appeared in intelligence reports as a pilot on an R-5 rocket. The rocket allegedly reached suborbital heights, but lost pressurization. His name does not appear in any official Soviet archives, making him a ghost. Mikhailov is the name often associated with the heartbeat recording from February 1961. Intelligence reports suggest he was stuck in orbit, unable to trigger the return rockets. As his oxygen reserves depleted, he would have slowly slipped into unconsciousness. His loss would have been the final straw that forced the Soviets to delay Gagarin's flight. There are accounts of a transmission where a pilot realizes he is not going to make it home. He is heard condemning the engineers and the faulty machine he is strapped into. Unlike the stoic heroes of propaganda, this was a man raging against his fate. To test the Vostok, the Soviets launched a mannequin named Ivan Ivanovich. Conspiracy theorists argue Ivan was actually a cover for a fallen pilot found in the wreckage. When the capsule was recovered, locals were told not to touch Ivan because he was sick. Vladimir Komarov knew the Soyuz 1 was a dangerous vessel with structural defects. He flew anyway to protect his backup pilot, his close friend Yuri Gagarin. Upon re-entry, the main parachute failed, sending him plummeting to Earth. The impact turned the capsule into a crater of twisted metal. His remains were displayed in an open casket, a final act of protest against the incompetence. Legend says us listening posts heard him yelling in rage at the Soviet officials as he fell. The sheer violence of the crash shattered the illusion that the program had conquered risk. Later, the crew of Soyuz 11 successfully docked with the first space station, but during re-entry, a valve vented their atmosphere into the vacuum. Recovery crews found all 3 men lifeless in their seats. It proved that in space, disaster is silent, instant, and leaves the machinery intact. When the Soviet Union collapsed, key files regarding early failures were reported missing. We rely on their word that Gagarin was first, but their word has been proven unreliable. The lost cosmonauts aren't just a theory, they are the mathematical ghosts of the space race.